Welcome back to our video series on the Play framework using Scala. We are still working on our task list that uses React for the client front end, and we've gotten to the point where we were able to load the tasks from our server, and we're actually using the same code for the server side that we did for version 3. Because it responds in JSON, that works just fine. We ended up with this nice little warning from React where it says each child in a list should have a unique key prop. So to help understand that, item number 8 under main concept is lists and keys. And it turns out that when we build these things, we need to give them a property of a key. Okay, well that's not too hard for us to add to our code. In fact, we had already put into here a map that would have an index. So we can simply say that we have a key that is index here. And if we come back over and we refresh this, there we go, no more warning. So this displays our tasks, and it logs out. It does not yet add tasks, it does not yet delete tasks, and we do not support the create user function yet. So we need to add another functionality. How about we work on the add task? As we saw before, we really should have that text box be controlled, this input here, be controlled by a method that is inside of our code. So I'm going to set up, I need a comma back there, an onChange that takes some event, and it will call this dot handle change, H-A-N-D-L-E, change, and pass it E. So that every time that things are altered in here, we'll call this method. Handle change takes our event, and we want to update a state so that our value for what we're adding is part of our state. So how about we say new task, and it can start off with an empty string. We also need to make it so our input starts off with a value equal to this dot state dot new task. And in handle change, we do this dot set state, and we set something up where the new task is equal to e dot target dot value. Okay, so our state will hold the value that they are typing in, and when they click on the add task, which we currently don't have a click handler for, but we can add one. So on click, we'll have an event and go to this dot handle click of that event. So let's come down here and write a handle click that takes an event. Now, how are we going to do this? Okay, we have the text that will be in our state that we want to add. We've already written code that does this, and using the current API, we have this add task method back here. Indeed, I could probably copy that. Let's see, I've already written I called it the handle click here for clicking on let's call this a handle add click, because we will also have a handle on a click that is when we're deleting items as well. Okay, so let's look at what we have here. So the task is we're getting an element by ID. We never do that in our React code. We're going to call the add route. It's going to be a post. Things are set up. And the question is, what do we do with the response? Well, remember, the add responds one of two ways. Either if it returns a true, that means that it worked. If it fails, then we should display some message here. Right now, we don't have that message. I'm going to go ahead and just comment out the handling of those two values and leave the load task. We already have a load task up here, and the load task follows the task route and sets the state to the new task. It will be interesting to see if this works, and we haven't really done much to add functionality. So we refresh, we log in, okay. Task is not defined on line 125. Indeed. So our task here is actually the text from our state. So that should be this dot state dot new task. Okay. Data's coming back. Let's see if we have any other issues. So we log in. Uncaught promise load tasks, plural, is not defined. This dot. Okay, actually, clearly some of these went through. Yeah, it just didn't reload and display them. Just to demonstrate. There we go. Okay, so add tasks appears to work. We have the issue that right now there isn't any error handling in it. If we wanted to add error handling, we simply need to add another element to our state, something like a task message. Now, where did we have this? If we go back and look at our view for version 3, the task message was after the add button. Okay, so we can put it in the same place here. After the add button, I'll put a comma and then make, actually I could probably just say a text element, this dot state dot task message. And when it's an empty string, that will be fine. So if it fails, what we want to do is this dot set state with the task message set to failed to add. If it succeeds, we want to load the tasks, and that won't clear this out, though it does wind up changing the state. Copy, paste, and blank back out the message. Unfortunately, this one is harder to test because that would require somehow our server doesn't add appropriately and something goes wrong. And at least right now, we don't have a good way of testing that. But we do have some code in there. We can make sure that it doesn't crash. Okay. That seems to be working. And logout still works. Okay, so that's probably pretty good for this video. The only thing that we're really missing right now is deleting and creating users. So we'll come back in the next video and we'll work on adding those features.